The screen on my phone vibrated in my palm with a notification from the wedding photographer. Final gallery ready. I swiped it open while balancing my coffee with my other hand. The first photo sliced through me, our perfectly arranged reception table, 3 empty chairs wrapped in white ribbon, name cards untouched. The space where my parents and brother should have been stood out like a wound against the celebration. I hadn't noticed it so starkly on the actual day. My throat constricted as I remembered Mom's text that morning. Something came up with Logan's tournament. Probably can't make it. Sorry, sweetie. No explanation. No follow-up call. Nothing from Dad at all. My finger hovered over the delete button before I slammed the phone face down on the counter, coffee sloshing onto my hand. The burn barely registered compared to the hollow ache spreading through my chest. My name is Madison, I'm 32 and a creative director. This is the story of how I learned that recognition isn't requested, it's earned. The invisibility started early. Our living room was a shrine to my brother Zachary, trophies gleaming in custom-built cabinets, newspaper clippings framed with precision, medals hanging like holiday decorations. My art competition certificates were stuffed into kitchen drawers between takeout menus and forgotten coupons. When Dad spoke about our family's legacy, his eyes would rest on Zachary as though I were merely part of the background. The future of the Wilson name, he'd say proudly, one hand on my brother's shoulder. I'd sit cross-legged on the floor, sketching designs that no one asked to see, pretending I didn't notice how Mom angled her camera to keep me out of frame when photographing Zachary's latest achievement. I learned to recognize the rhythm of their dismissal. "We'll see if we can make it," meant they wouldn't come. "That's nice, honey," translated to "I'm not really listening." The day I received my full scholarship to RISD, Dad's response was perfectly on script. "That's great. Maybe Zachary could transfer there too when he's ready." Even Ethan noticed it when we started dating. "You talk about them like you're describing distant relatives," he said one night. "Or people you read about in a book." I couldn't explain how years of being overlooked had taught me to expect nothing. How I'd stopped hoping for approval that never arrived. Still, when our wedding date approached, something foolish inside me believed they might show up for this one moment. "We'll try to make it, sweetie," Mom had said when I called with the invitation details. I heard Dad in the background, "Tell her we are busy that weekend." I pretended not to hear, giving them the benefit of a doubt they hadn't earned. The wedding was beautiful without them. Ethan's family filled spaces with warmth and kindness. But those empty chairs had their own gravity, pulling at my attention throughout the evening. Guests whispered explanations to each other, their pitying glances feeling like small cuts each time they landed. 2 years passed with no contact from my family. Crescent Media, my agency, thrived through fierce determination and sleepless nights. The day the acquisition closed, my team gathered around as the final email arrived: transfer complete, $21 million. The office erupted in celebration, champagne corks hitting the ceiling while my senior designer gave a toast. To Madison, who built this from nothing while the world wasn't watching. That night, sitting alone in my office while city lights blinked through floor-to-ceiling windows, I posted a photo of my new Porsche 911 in champagne metallic. The caption was simple: "Dreams realized." Not to brag, just to document. To prove to myself it had happened. 3 days later, during our weekly strategy meeting, my phone lit up with an unfamiliar number. Mom must have gotten my new number from an old colleague who followed my career. I nearly declined before noticing the area code, my hometown. Something made me excuse myself from the conference room to answer. "Madison?" The voice was instantly familiar despite 5 years of silence. My mother, speaking with practiced care, like approaching a stranger's dog. "We need to talk. Family meeting tomorrow." I felt a laugh escape before I could catch it, sharper than intended. After 5 years of not even a birthday text. "It's important," she said, voice tight with urgency. I heard Dad's voice in the background, "Tell her it's urgent." I pictured them in their kitchen, the wall of Zachary's achievements watching over their shoulders as they calculated what I was worth now. My success had made me visible again. My Instagram post had found its way to their small town circles. Convenient. "What's this about?" My voice remained steady, professional, the voice I used in difficult client negotiations. "We'll explain tomorrow," Mom replied, as though scheduling a routine appointment. When I hung up, there was no anger, no nostalgia, just a cool clarity settling over me like morning fog on the harbor. They hadn't changed, they'd simply noticed the car. Ethan looked up from his laptop across our dining table. Everything okay? My mom wants a family meeting. Are you going to go? He asked, putting his work aside. Yes, I said, surprising myself with the certainty. I think it's time. That night, our house hummed with quiet anticipation. I drafted an email to my attorney, my fingers steady on the keyboard. Please review trust documentation by morning. If they're calling a meeting, I'm not coming empty-handed. The drive back to my childhood home took 40 minutes the next day from Portland to the suburbs where I grew up. Each mile seemed to peel back a layer I'd grown over myself for protection. The house looked smaller now, the white shutters and trimmed hydrangeas appearing like a dollhouse version of what I remembered. My mother opened the door before I could knock, her eyes immediately flicking to the Porsche in the driveway. You've done well for yourself, she said, not hello, not I've missed you. Yes, I answered simply, offering nothing more. Inside smelled of lemon polish and old control. The dining table was already set, papers neatly stacked beside Dad's coffee mug. He sat at the head of the table like it was a board meeting. Zachary and his wife were already seated, wearing identical expressions of practiced concern. Madison, Dad said formally, we appreciate you coming. I didn't realize I had a choice. My voice was calm, almost curious. He cleared his throat. Your brother has had some financial setbacks. Tuition for the kids, mortgage underwater. Things are behind. We hoped you might help. Just until everything turns around. Zachary leaned forward, his salesman smile ready. Family helps family. Dad slid a folder across the table. Here's the loan paperwork. We filled most of it out for convenience. My name stared back from the signature line. Something inside me went still, like a pond freezing over. Convenient, I said quietly. You must have been planning this meeting for a while. Mom's voice softened to her favorite weapon. Sweetie, don't be dramatic. We are asking, not demanding. Really? Because it feels like a setup. Zachary scoffed. You always think you're being attacked. You made your money. Now act like family and share. Dad placed a steadying hand on his shoulder. Madison, we invested in your education. This is your chance to give back. I almost laughed. You mean the education I paid for with scholarships? Because you wouldn't co-sign my loans. Silence fell heavy across the room. Mom tried again, her voice trembling on cue. Think about your nieces, sweetie. They shouldn't suffer for this. Her words hit the air like a perfectly laid trap. I stood and walked to the window. Outside, the old swing set stood with paint chipping and rope fraying, unchanged like them. Where were you at my wedding? I asked, still facing the yard. Zachary blinked. What? 2 years ago. Where were you? Mom's lips tightened. We were busy. Zachary had a tournament. Dad added without shame, it wasn't convenient. The room froze. Even the clock stopped ticking. I turned calm now. And now you're here because you saw the Porsche online. Because suddenly I'm worth your time. No one spoke. I closed the folder and set it back in front of Dad. You'll get your answer tomorrow. As I walked out, Mom called after me, don't make this harder than it needs to be. I didn't turn. It's already as hard as it's going to get. They wanted a loan. I brought a ledger. I returned to my parents' house as promised the next afternoon, the drive feeling shorter this time. Sunlight cut across the dining room table like a spotlight waiting for its scene. I parked the Porsche out front, letting the engine purr a second longer than necessary. This time, my pulse didn't race. I wasn't nervous. I was done being the quiet one. Mom opened the door. Beige sweater, practiced smile. You came, she said. Of course, I replied. You said it was important. Dad sat at the head again, papers spread neatly, glasses low. Zachary lounged beside him, tie loosened, the image of a man wronged by the world. The situation hasn't improved, Dad began. We'd like to finalize the loan today. I placed my briefcase on the table but didn't sit. Before we do that, I said evenly, there's something you should see. Zachary smirked. Let me guess. More photos of your car. Not quite. From my case, I pulled a thick envelope containing paperwork for the foundation I had set up overnight through my attorneys and laid it on the table. The bold header read, "The Rivera Media Scholarship Foundation." "What's this?" Mom asked, brow creasing. "A surprise," I said softly. "I made some calls to my lawyers last night after our meeting. Since we are discussing family investments, I wanted to share mine." Dad scanned the document, confusion rising to disbelief. $16 million. Every cent, I said. Legally protected. Dedicated to funding education for young women in media arts. Zachary laughed, the sound brittle. "You gave $16 million to strangers?" "Not strangers," I said. "Girls like me who were invisible in their own homes." Mom's hand trembled. "Madison, that's unwise. You could have helped your family." I clicked my phone, red light blinking. "For transparency, I'm recording this conversation. So we're all clear about who asked for what." Dad stiffened. "That's unnecessary." "It's essential," I said. "You've made your expectations clear. Now let me make mine." I leaned forward. "You missed my graduation, my college showcase, my wedding. Every milestone, I looked for you. Every time you chose something else." Mom's voice cracked. "We only did what we thought was best." "No," I said quietly. "You did what was convenient." Zachary slammed a hand on the table. "You think you're better than us because you got lucky?" "Lucky?" I laughed softly. 3 jobs through college. Sleeping in my car between classes. That's not luck, Zachary. That's survival." No one spoke. The air thickened with everything unspoken. Finally, I straightened. "You wanted to talk about family. Here's my definition: family shows up. You didn't." Dad's voice dropped low. "Blood is thicker than water." "Then you should have thought about that before you diluted it," I said. I closed my briefcase and turned toward the door. Zachary shouted, "You can't just walk out." I looked back, calm, steady. "I already did. 2 years ago." The door clicked shut behind me. Outside, the air felt new. Not lighter, just real. They came for money. I gave them a mirror. Back at my office the following day, I had my PR team send out a press release about the foundation overnight. Headlines bloomed across Portland: "Self-made founder turns pain into purpose." The photo showed me beside the Rivera Foundation banner. Calm, composed, untouchable. By noon, my inbox overflowed. Congratulations, interview requests, curiosity. Buried between them was a single email from Mom: "You've humiliated this family." I didn't reply. That afternoon, security called from the lobby. "Your family's here. They're demanding to see you." Through the glass walls, I saw them. Mom waving, Dad fuming, Zachary red-faced. My team froze, uncertain. "Have security escort them out," I said evenly. "No shouting, no drama. Just boundaries with posture." Mom's voice echoed faintly through the hall: "She's abandoning her family." I turned away. "No," I murmured. "I'm saving myself." Later that evening at our apartment, Ethan poured 2 glasses of wine on our balcony. The city glowed below us, steady, alive. "So that's it?" he asked. "That's it," I said. "They showed who they are. I just made sure everyone saw it too." He smiled. "Revenge your style." "Not revenge," I said. Redefinition. A week later, I stood inside the foundation's new studio. Sunlight spilled over rows of cameras and laptops. Laughter echoed from girls working on their first films. One of them looked up. "Ms. Wilson, can you check this frame?" I leaned beside her. "Perfect. You're seeing the world as it should be." Outside, rain shimmered against the glass. No missing faces, no empty chairs, just peace finally earned. Some families are built, not born.